Hello and welcome to the EmpowHer Collective Show. I'm your host, Dr. Celia Corbo, entrepreneur and licensed chiropractor. Join us on our guest speaker episode as we dive into stories of remarkable women making a difference and transforming their dreams into reality. Today on the show, we have Rosanna Gories from Balanced Path. After a successful career as a senior leader and businesswoman, Rosanna pursued her passion for helping others become masters of the self. Drawing from her own life's highs and lows, she offers clients tools for healthy aging and living through her company, Balanced Path. A proud mother and retired associate dean, Rosanna is a Reiki master, certified coach practitioner, and a member of several prestigious organizations, including the Reiki Healing Association and Certified Coaches Federation. Hi, Rosanna. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you, Celia?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. So for everyone listening, Rosanna is actually a very long time family friend. Her and my mom were best friends growing up. So we have quite the history. I actually used to call her Auntie Rose.
Yeah. And my kids call your mom Auntie B and
Yeah.
Uncle Peter. So
Yeah.
I've known your mom since grade 5 or 6.
Yeah, long time. Long time. But the best friendships are the lasting friendships, I'd say.
So true, so true.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
definitely.
well, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into finding Balanced Path and what led you there.
Yeah, so I've been on a journey, a healing journey, I guess we can call it now, since my 20s. And I was always looking at ways to fix myself. I felt that I didn't have a voice. I grew up with, my parents immigrated from Italy to Canada, and they were very strict, especially my mom. And so I grew up in a very confined environment. I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things that my other friends were allowed to do. And so, I always had to fight for everything that I wanted. I was very rebellious as a teenager, and I had to sneak around to be with my friends, or go to the mall. I had to do certain things before I was allowed to go to the mall. But all those things that kind of I just felt very restricted, and
Mm-hmm.
and so growing up. Not only did I feel like that I couldn't be myself, but that guilt was creeping in as well, so I felt guilty that I had to sneak around, but that's what I had to do, I felt
Mm-hmm.
at the time. And so I knew at pretty an early age that I wasn't going to get out of my parents' house until or unless I was married. And so at the age of 21, and when we hear that age now, it's so young, right?
It's so young.
Yeah, and so that's what I did. After, university, I got married so that I could leave my parents' home. And you know what they say, you're getting out of one fire and going into another. So, not that it was all bad. It was pretty good. And then of course, the expectations, right? Of
Yeah.
you buy a house. Well, you get married, then you buy a house, and you have kids, and then you live happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Fairy tale that everyone wants.
exactly. So, it was fun because it was a novelty to me. And,
Mm-hmm.
fast forward to in my 30s, I had my 2 kids, I had a house. Um, but I still felt that there was something that wasn't right with me, because I was still feeling that I was doing what everybody else thought that I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was doing everything for everybody else to make them happy.
Yeah.
And, I suffered as a result of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so, on the outside, then I had my third child at the age of 35, because I really wanted a third child. And so that made me happy, happier. And not that I'm not happy, I wasn't happy with my children, but that inner happiness. And,
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have it, you don't even realize that you don't have it until something
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And so on the outside, I looked happy. I had everything. I had the big house, I had the kids, my own car, I had a great job. But still something was missing. inside, and I still I still felt like I had to fix myself. So,
Mm-hmm.
I would go to, these webinars, these conferences on assertiveness training, and a whole bunch of these self-help type of webinars and books, and I was reading everything, I was watching everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that, I had a lot of negative self-talk, and
Mm-hmm.
my inner critic was always putting me down and, saying, "Oh, you have everything that you want and you're still not happy. Like, how can that be? What's wrong
Yeah.
with you?"
Why are you so selfish?
Exactly. And as I aged, it wasn't until I guess my mid 40s that I realized that I didn't need fixing. I needed healing. And
I love that.
yeah, and what really spoke to me was Reiki. And so I had heard about Reiki in my, I guess, late 20s, early 30s. And I thought, "Oh, no, like, Reiki's taboo. Like, we can't believe,"
Uh-huh.
because I'm Catholic and I believe in what I believe. And, Reiki was just out there and
Mm-hmm.
so foreign. And then I met a friend through my sister's extended family, and
Mm-hmm.
she was a Reiki healer. And so she started talking to me about it. And I thought, "Oh, well, if Anna's a Reiki healer and she's Catholic, I mean, her cousin's a priest, you know, um,
You're close to the pearly gates.
that he's well, not that he accepts it, but anyway, so I thought,
Yeah.
Maybe there's something more to it. And so
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not taboo and maybe it's not evil." And I found that it wasn't. And so she introduced me to Reiki. She has her own business. It's called Holistic Journey. And she is a wonderful lady. So she performed Reiki on me, and I cannot explain how I felt after
Yeah.
that session. And it just made all, like, everything made sense. I needed the healing. I needed to find my own self, my own
Mm-hmm.
inner voice, and I had to, change internally so that I
Yeah.
could change externally.
Yeah.
And so, um, you know, she, I loved it so much that I became a Reiki practitioner. And so, I loved Reiki so much, and I cannot talk enough about it. It's just something that really helps us to find that inner balance that a lot of us are looking for.
Yeah.
And so, that was part of my journey. And fast forward a couple more years, and I was more aware of myself in terms of me, realized that I'm the only one who can create happiness, my own happiness. I
Yeah.
I'm not responsible for anybody else, and they're not responsible for me. And we tend to look for happiness out there, but
Mm-hmm.
it really starts in here first.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that time in my mid 40s that I was going to start my second life at the age of 50.
Wow.
And I had no idea what that meant, but I did something really drastic, and I ended my marriage after 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I started all over again. And,
Yeah.
we make our choices. We have to accept what comes after. Not everything
Mm-hmm.
was good. Not everything is good, but
Mm-hmm.
it's my choice. And yeah, I'm just, starting over isn't easy, especially at that age after all those years. But it was something
Yeah.
that I felt that I had to do. And my children were at the time 26, 24, and 15. And it was hard for them, even though they
Yeah.
were adults,
Mm-hmm.
and, but they could see how toxic the relationship was, and how unhappy I was.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so, they had their own struggles, and so
Mm-hmm.
did I, but we've come to a place now where I think they realize that it was something that I had to do.
Yeah, and I think that takes a lot of initiative, honestly, because a lot of the times the parents or the partners stay together for the children.
Yes.
But they don't realize that children are actually really smart and they have this intuition, no matter what age they are. They can feel that energy coming from their parents
Right.
that something's off and there's
Yeah.
a toxicity to it. So,
Yeah.
as difficult as it is, you know you're going to be breaking someone's heart in that decision.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And nobody wants a
Yeah.
broken family. I mean, I didn't want it, but you know what? It was just something, like I said, that I felt that I had to do
Yeah.
for everybody's sanity,
Yeah.
almost,
Yeah.
And so it's been, oh my gosh, over 10 years.
Wow.
So
That's
I
time flies.
know. Yeah. So we sold
Yeah.
the marital home in 2013.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's been quite a long time, and I've had struggles. I'm not going to
Mhm.
lie, but you know what? You kind of build that resilience as you go
Mhm.
along. And I said that earlier on, that I've been on my journey since my 20s, and I truly believe that we're never going to finish or end our
No.
journey. Our journey is our journey until we pass to the next life.
Yeah.
There's always things to learn. There's always things to improve. And yeah, so I did have the good job, and I was ready at that time to make this big change.
Mhm.
Then in 2019, all hell broke loose. Um,
Sure did.
just before, well, yeah, not in, yeah,
Oh,
that
we're not the pandemic yet? Oh, okay.
I know we always, yeah, it's like pre or and post pandemic.
Yeah, it's like that defining point in history. Yeah.
So in 2019, in November, like the end of November, just before my birthday, just before Christmas, and just before the pandemic, I lost my job.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I was an associate dean, very well paid.
Mhm.
I thought, oh, I'm set until I retire. I was
Yeah.
57 at the time, and I only had 3 more years to go. I was going to
Oh
retire
my
at,
gosh.
at 60.
Yeah.
But anyway, that didn't happen. But just prior to that, I did start Balanced Path, and
Mhm.
I thought it was the universe telling me that, you know what, Rosanna, you're not, you, I don't want you in this corporate job. I want you
Mhm.
to really concentrate on Balanced Path, make it grow, and spread this word of, well-being and wellness.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that's when I mean, I had started Balanced Path, but I was more into it
Yeah.
because I thought that that's what I was supposed to do, to help everybody with emotional healing,
Mhm.
which I did. But then, so I was prepared to, and I was doing Reiki sessions and chakra balancing
Yeah.
sessions, but then COVID hit, not too
The
long
other hell that broke loose.
exactly. Yeah, if that wasn't bad enough, then
Yeah.
so anyway, I found that I couldn't do any in person anymore because of
Mhm.
all the shutdowns, and then I turned to social media and the online world, and I'm loving it.
Yeah.
It's great. So I had a lot of mentors along the way, along my journey. Louise Hay, Deepak Chopra, Jack Canfield, and so many others that were my mentors. I have new mentors now. I keep changing mentors. I mean, there's so much out there, and
Yeah.
it can be overwhelming for people, but as I'm getting older, I realize how important physical, emotional, and cognitive health is, especially
Yeah.
if we want to be active in our older years. And I do want to be active. I love traveling. I have a partner who's in another province, so I
Mhm.
travel back and forth a lot, and we have plans. And so, yeah, I want to make sure that I can be physically fit,
Yeah.
to to uh, to make those dreams come to fruition. And so,
Yeah.
so I switched from offering, just the Reiki sessions to more emotional healing, focusing on empowering people, or
Mhm.
individuals to take charge of their own health journey, because you
Mhm.
really have to be your own advocate. And
Yeah.
so I provide a lot of tools and strategies and resources that people can really integrate into their lives, and
Mhm.
um, make it their, a personalized way that they can sustainably do these things
Mhm.
for their own proactive health. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Wow.
in
It
a
sounds like quite the journey, honestly, but you're absolutely right. You said something like it's a never-ending journey because, us humans, we're always evolving, we're developing. It's like you reach the top of one mountain and then you realize, oh, that's the bottom of another. And it's
yeah,
just always growing, expanding. But if you allow yourself, because I find that there are those, or there is rather, that divide in society of people that will climb the mountain and people that just stay at the bottom. And there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with either. It's just the type of personality that some people are.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are you aware of the point that, yeah, you have hit that bottom? Um,
Yeah.
and if you're not aware of it, then you're going to stay in that bottom. But if
Yeah.
you are aware of it, then you're going to think, okay, how can I get out of it? Because I read somewhere somebody posted about being positive, and
Hmm.
they said, oh, well, you can't be positive all the time, and um, it's okay to not be positive all the time.
Hmm.
And yes,
Hmm.
that's absolutely right. You don't have to
Hmm.
be positive all the time. I consider myself a positive person, but I'm not positive all the time. But
Yeah.
the difference is that when I'm not positive, when I go down that rabbit hole, I make sure that I'm aware that I'm going down that rabbit hole
Yeah.
because I want to get out. And if I'm not
Yes.
aware that I'm going down, I'm going to go
Hmm.
down deeper and deeper and deeper. And then it's going to be harder for me to get out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll wallow in my negativity. But,
Hmm.
I also realize that there are tools for me to get out of that.
Yeah. And
Well,
are those tools what you teach in Balance Path with your clients? And
yeah,
can you give us maybe like three or however many of those tools just to for
yeah,
someone who is tuning in?
absolutely. So I have a really good example actually that just happened to me.
Huh.
So I was away since July 9th. I came back October 2nd, and I came
Hmm.
back to a letter saying that my neighbor wants me to trim the branches of one of my trees that's going over on his side.
Hmm.
And not only that, but then I got a fine from the city because I didn't do it on time.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I was supposed to do it by September 25th. Of course, I
Uh-huh.
wasn't here, so
Yeah.
couldn't do it. And so I got a fine. And then I called the city and they said, oh, you can fight the fine, that is, right? So I submitted all my paperwork, my documentation that I was away, and they denied my thing. So I was still supposed to pay this fine. And then
Okay.
I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm so angry and I'm so like I'm getting stressed and I'm thinking, why didn't he just come over and tell me, that he wanted those branches cut off, or he could have done it himself and rah, rah, rah. So, all this stress thing that's building up in my heart.
Yeah.
And then so one of my tools is I have this book and it's called Prayers of the Great Creator, and it's
Hmm.
by Julia Cameron. And so literally, I just opened it up like you would, any book, like you
Hmm.
could use a Bible, you could use your favorite quotes, whatever, right? Just opened it up. And in it, it said, adversity is misperception, all works toward the good.
Huh.
And so when I read it brought me from stress level up here to, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And
Hmm.
so it just says that I'll just read a little bit because it's
Yeah.
a little paragraph, but it says, I bless my perceived rival. I affirm my inner worth regardless of outcome. I affirm too the inner worth of my perceived rival, knowing all works together for the good. I claim for each of us the highest good. I respect the working out of our difficulties to create the best path for each of us.
Mm.
And there's a couple more sentences which I won't read. But
Mhm.
so that really brought me down. And I
Mhm.
thought, yes, this is the message that I needed to hear. And it's
Mhm.
so simple, right?
Yeah.
And so I did call the officer who gave me the fine, or who,
Mhm.
came out. He called me today, and I explained again, and he said, are you going to cut down the branches? And I said, absolutely. I said, I have somebody coming in. They're not available until November, because I just wanted to make sure that he knew that I was going to take down those branches.
Mhm.
And so he said, okay, leave it, because I had set a court date as well, because
Mhm.
my fine was denied. And
Mhm.
guess what? He dropped the charges.
Oh my gosh. That's great.
Yeah. And
So
so, that just goes to show that, yes, our first reaction, of course, we're human. We're going
yeah.
to get upset. We're going to get
Yeah.
mad. We're going to say the
Yeah.
F word, right? And so, yeah. But then, you have to come out and say, okay, I can't get swallowed in the problem, because when you get swallowed in the
Mhm.
problem, when you let the stress take over you, you're not going to have a clear mind
Yeah.
to resolve the issue.
Mhm.
Now, I I had I had resolved the issue in my own mind, because I said, okay, I'm going to fight this fine, and I'm going to set a court date, because that's what I feel like I have to do in my own
Mhm.
mind.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I would have lost, maybe I would have won. I don't know. But then he came back, he returned my call and said, okay, let me see if I can take care of this. And he did.
Hmm.
And I don't know, Celia, it's like, somewhere out there, when you surrender,
Yeah.
you everything is taken care. And
Yeah,
sometimes it is,
absolutely.
sometimes it isn't. But and then if
Yep.
it isn't, then you have to learn from it. But it's that
Yeah.
surrendering piece.
Yeah, and you know what? I find, like, I say this to my patients, my clients all the time. You have a choice. It might not seem like it in that moment because you're
Right.
so heated, or, the situation is so catastrophic in your
Yes.
brain that you feel this is the only option, is either to get mad or to react. But really, at the end of the day, you can do exactly what you chose to do, and that's to try and ground yourself and to try and see reason and perspective in the situation. And then, okay, act accordingly. But
Yeah.
it's about that self-awareness, exactly what you said before,
Yeah.
that we just need to be more in tune. And it kind of brings me back to what we talked about on your podcast about the left and the right brain.
Yes.
Essentially,
Yeah.
your left brain just made up a story and was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. I hate this situation.
Mhm.
Why would he do that? But then your right brain was like, okay, let's maybe just like look at this a little bit
Right.
more. Let's try and
Yes.
dive into it, break it down, and find reason. And so it's having that right brain awareness, I guess you could say, as well,
Right.
if you want to be more scientific about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my one tool.
Mhm.
I tell clients, whatever works for you. If
Mhm.
you have a special book, if you have even like a quotation book, whatever, just open
Yeah.
it up, because you know what, that you're going to get a message.
Yeah.
You are going to get the right message. Even, I have oracle cards, like,
Mhm.
Angel Michael cards that I'll just
Mhm.
pull, and it's exactly the message that I have to hear. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another strategy that I use is Reiki. And so, we can give ourselves Reiki. We don't have to be
Hmm.
certified. The only
Okay.
reason why we have to be certified is to give Reiki to others. And
Okay.
then, there's another certification to teach Reiki to others.
Mhm.
So, I always say, we have this innate energy in ourselves. And so
Mhm.
I use Reiki and meditation together,
Mhm.
but you can't meditate or use Reiki when you're in that state.
Okay.
That, that mad,
Like that, like, pent up energy,
yeah.
anger
Yes,
state.
unless you are meditating every day consistently.
Okay.
Because it's like a buildup, right? So
Mhm.
if you meditate, for 10 minutes a day, when you do get angry, all you have to do is, yes, maybe you can go within and meditate. But again,
Mhm.
you have to deal with those negative emotions. You have to,
Mhm.
you can't just meditate when you're in a state of anger,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's not going to work. But what you can do is you can breathe, just take
Mhm.
deep breaths, right, to get that parasympathetic mode going, right, and
Mhm.
de-stress that way, and then you can meditate, or you can
Mhm.
meditate at the end of the day after, how did I handle the situation? Why am I in the situation? And so
Mhm.
Reiki really is that energy healing that helps bring balance and
Mhm.
relaxation to your body and mind. And depending on, yeah, how stressed you are, it might take more, it might take less. But if we do it every day, it's going to be easier to de-stress quicker when
Yeah.
you're really stressed. Right.
Right.
It's like, if you have to fit into a little black dress in a wedding that you have in 2 months. Well, if you don't
Mhm.
start dieting and exercising before to fit in that little dress, in that little black dress, you're not going to do it a week before.
Yeah.
So we have to be consistent.
Mhm. So
And
can you share then a little bit more about that? Because I know that you can do Reiki on yourself and what you mentioned about being a practitioner and a master Reiki, but why are we not able to do it in those times of stress? And how does it differ from meditation? Like, are there different affirmations that we're saying, or is there a different frequency that we're tapping into?
so just think of Reiki as this energy that's flowing, right?
Okay.
So when we're meditating, we typically just close our eyes and we meditate. But
Mhm.
let's say you want to heal one of your chakras, your heart chakra, let's say. If you just
Mhm.
place your hands on your heart,
Mhm.
you can actually feel the energy flowing from your hands and your fingertips into your heart.
Hmm. Yeah. Can you feel the heartbeat a little bit?
You can feel the
Yeah.
heartbeat. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, this energy is just flowing,
Mhm.
and it's going back into you. And so,
Mhm.
you can clear those blocks. If you've had, when you get stressed and there's a pit in your stomach, just
Yeah.
place your hands on your stomach and meditate, and just,
Hmm.
use words that are comforting to you. Use
Mhm.
words that, I'm not sure why I have this pit in my stomach. I think it's
Mhm.
because Bob really upset me today.
Mhm.
And maybe it wasn't Bob's fault because he was maybe upset at something. And
Mhm.
so it's not me. It's more, what Bob is going through, and just having that compassion, right? And so
Mhm.
you're just clearing those blocks. You're trying to restore your body's natural balance.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of like getting a boost in your inner battery. It's helping you to feel calmer,
Yeah.
more secure.
Is there a time of day that you recommend someone to do this practice?
You can
If
do
they can't really do it in a state of pent up energy, is there a time that we can practice it for when we can clear
Yeah,
at
and
a
it
different
and it
time?
doesn't have to be pent up energy. It could be just,
Mhm.
in the morning before you wake up,
Mhm.
and just give yourself this flow of energy, and say, you know what, I'm going to be clear today. I'm going to have a beautiful day, and I'm not going to let anything get stuck in my body. I want
Mhm.
my energy to flow freely.
Yeah.
Or at night, yeah, it's something that doesn't have to be done at any stage, really.
Mhm.
If you're going in for an interview, I have, 5-minute charging Reiki sessions on my YouTube channel. If you're going to a doctor's appointment and you feel a little bit anxious, if you're going to an
Yeah.
interview and you feel really nervous, um, you know, anything really, that
Mhm.
can calm your body down. Because as Louise Hay says, right, all our physical ailments are as a result of our emotional
Yeah. I love
feelings.
Louise Hay.
Oh, me too. Yeah, yeah. I love her
Ev
too.
Every time I have a patient that comes in, it's like, "I have a hip problem," or "I have this problem," I'm like, "Okay, you're gonna say this affirmation.
Yeah,
That's part
yeah,
of your exercises, part of your homework."
yeah. And affirmations are great. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
if you're doing Reiki on yourself, and your heart,
Mhm.
I am loved. I
Mhm.
love others. Like, just do as many affirmations. And that's what I love about these modalities, is that they can all be grouped together,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
And they don't take much time either.
No.
I have this feeling that, a lot of people don't do these practices because they think they're going to take a really long time. But I think the real block is that it's going to just inflict a lot of change
Yes,
into your nervous system, into your brain. And you're not quite ready for that to happen. And that's the block. We just blame it on time,
that's
but
right.
it's not the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Or, oh, I'll just take this pill, this
Oh
medication,
yeah.
because it's going
Yeah.
to go away. And so
Yeah.
I have another story, if I can share briefly,
Of course, yeah.
that has to do with the Reiki and the chakras. So I
Mhm.
like to give Reiki to the 7 main chakras that we have. And so I was having thyroid problems a few years ago.
Mm.
My numbers were all out of whack. And so
Wow.
my doctor put me on Synthroid. And I said,
Yeah.
and she knows me. She knows that I do not like to take medication.
Yeah.
But she'll be honest. She'll say, look, Rosanna, you cannot get rid of this thyroid problem. Just like I had iron problems. And, she said, look, you need iron supplements. You can't do this alone with,
Mhm.
holistic ways. So I said, okay, I'm going to take the Synthroid. So I took it for, I think it was 3 months. But
Mhm.
while I was taking Synthroid, I was also working on my throat chakra.
Mhm.
The throat chakra is your voice.
Mhm.
And that means that when you do have blockages, you're not speaking your truth,
Yeah.
right? And you're not voicing your opinions. You're keeping everything locked up in.
Suppressed, yeah.
Yeah. So I was taking the Synthroid and I was doing the chakra work on my throat, giving
Mhm.
myself the Reiki, and I was going in for blood work like almost every 2 weeks to
Oh,
make sure
wow.
that
Yeah.
my numbers were getting better.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, at the end of the 3rd month, my numbers were back to normal. So
Mhm.
I told my doctor, I said, I'm going to stop the Synthroid. I'm going to continue with my, chakras.
My medication, my modalities.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and I'm also gonna take supplements. So I did take a
Yeah.
thyroid support supplement.
Mhm.
And she said, "Okay, fine." She said, "Let's do that. You'll continue with the blood work, for every 2 weeks until whatever." And you know what? It was fine. I didn't have to go back on the Synthroid.
That's
My
great.
my numbers were great. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not telling anybody to stop their
Yeah.
their medication. That's not what I'm
Disclaimer.
Yeah, but, it's worth trying these things. At the
Yeah.
most at the most, it doesn't work, or if it didn't work, I'd still be on the Synthroid, which it would be okay because I know I tried these other modalities, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you know yeah, you have
But
to be
I
comfortable.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, not to steer off and start talking about medications and the pharmaceutical system, but really the way that you presented your story, in my opinion, is the way that medication should be used for. It should be used to help normalize levels of the body, but it shouldn't be used as a dependence. And doing all these other things in the background, changing your lifestyle, being healthy, doing, energy work, or even
Mhm,
talking to yourself in a more positive way, all of these things, they do play a role in the healing transformation of the body, but you have to practice them. And because it takes work, people don't want to do it. It's so much
exactly.
easier just to pop that pill. So it's so admirable of you to share that and just to even express that you were doing a lot of the background work to get your body to a state where you didn't need it for the rest of your life and you could
Mhm.
bring it back to normalcy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you was because that you mentioned that you were very rebellious in your youth and
yeah.
you tried all these different outlets and then you finally found your second life or you confirmed to yourself that you wanted to have the second life. And
Mm,
what brought about that courage and that move and that like, okay, we're going to do it? Because I'm sure there's so many people out there who are
mm.
in that exact same position and they hear it from everyone. But what was that, like that next move that really got you to make it?
So I think that what really, made me strong. I mean, I've always been a strong
Mhm.
person, I think.
Mhm.
I have that strong personality.
Yeah.
But I was also fearful, and I'm still fearful,
Yeah.
sometimes. But I think what really, it's almost like I'm not even sure what broke the camel's back, the straw that broke the camel.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what it was, but I think I realized that I wasn't happy. And I
Mhm.
realized um, that nobody else can make me happy, that my
Mhm.
circumstances can't make me happy. So I have to make myself happy. And it's funny because when I did leave, I remember my sister-in-law writing to me, and she said, "I hope you're happy now."
Mhm.
And I thought, yeah, so that's a loaded question or a loaded comment, because
Yeah.
what is happiness? I'm not
Yeah,
even,
yeah, I was actually just gonna ask you that.
yeah, what is happiness? Because
Yeah.
I know what happiness is not. And I
Yeah.
told her, and happiness is not having a big house, having
Yeah.
a car, having X, Y, and Z. Happiness is just a state of being. And
Yeah.
so, being your authentic self, and even that,
Mhm.
like what is that, right?
Mhm.
But it's being true to yourself. So I felt that I was living a lie. I felt like a fraud. That's imposter
Yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt that I was living this life for somebody else and not for me. And I think that's probably what really did it. Am I
Mhm.
living this life, my life, for my parents, for society, or
Mhm.
am I living my life for me? And I think that was the biggest thing and I decided to live my life for me.
Mhm.
I mean, I made sure that I was financially stable. And
Yeah.
looking back, I think I wanted to leave my marriage when I was like 7 years in.
Oh, wow.
But I had two young kids. I knew
Yeah.
that my parents wouldn't take me. I wasn't
Mhm.
making enough money to support myself or the kids.
Mhm.
And then I knew that I would have like this battle with,
Yeah.
when kids are younger, you usually,
Like custody. Yeah.
custody into that. So I actually just waited it out.
Mhm.
And so I think when I finally made the decision, I had all my ducks in a row. So I made sure
Mhm.
that I was financially secure. I made sure that the kids were older, even though it was hard for them, but you know, they would
Mhm.
figure it out, because
Yeah.
as Louise Hay says, we have to trust our children
Yeah.
that they will figure it out. We can't
Yeah.
control what they do,
Yeah.
how they're going to end up. All we
No.
can do is give them our support and trust. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think that was the hardest thing. Or,
Mhm.
I mean, I had to make sure that I knew exactly what I was doing. And
Mhm.
so, when and I had no idea what my single life was going to be like.
Right. It's a lot of unknown
Yeah, a
territory
lot
that
of
you're
unknown.
stepping into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did know that, you know what, I had the means and I was
Mhm.
ready. And it's like you know inside that you're ready,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember a friend of mine said, because she also left her husband and divorced, and she said, "Rosanna, make sure that you really think about this, because you are going to be alone."
Mhm.
And she was right. I lost some of my friends because, they were like couples friends, right?
Yeah.
um, People looked at me differently, treated me differently. I'd go to
Mhm.
weddings alone. Do you know how
Mhm.
hard that is? Like,
Yes.
talk about getting out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
Yeah.
I think that's the trick too, is getting out of your comfort zone and
Mhm.
being prepared to not be comfortable anymore.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you
Yeah.
don't know that you're not until you are in that position. Like, there's no
Yeah.
trial.
No. You know what? It brings me back, and it not from a relationship perspective, but in grade 11, I actually had transferred schools. I went from a school that I was in for about 4 years, had really good friends, and it was grade 11. So I'm like, oh, I want to go to a different school. I want to focus more on my grades, see if I can get better grades to get into university. I knew not a soul going to that new school. I only knew my brother, who was in grade 9 and younger than me.
Yeah.
And now that I think back on it, I'm like, how and why did I do that? I could have been so much more comfortable at my old school with all of my friends that I've known since grade 7, and we could have had a great time graduating together. But I'm so proud of myself that I did that, because in my life, there's been so many times where I felt alone, or I felt like I'm in that new environment. I have to meet
Mhm.
everybody, go to the wedding alone. And
Yeah,
you get so comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling.
right.
And it's like, oh, okay, it's just another thing to do.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, when I told my mother that
Hmm.
I was leaving, and I didn't tell anybody until it happened. So
Okay.
I guess thinking back, maybe, no, let me rephrase that. Everybody knew that we were always arguing, that we
Hmm.
didn't have, I mean, there's no perfect marriage out there, but
Yeah.
we had our differences, so everybody
Hmm.
saw that, but nobody would think that, oh, she's gonna leave him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I told my mom, like, she said, well, what do you mean you're leaving? Like, just live together. He can go in the basement, you can be upstairs. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, no,
I
like,
need my own space.
right? And what am I teaching my children?
Yeah.
And what am I
Yeah.
doing just because, you want other people to see us together? Like, people are
Yeah.
stupid. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a lot of that guilt, and
Mhm.
that I had to overcome. And I think maybe I
Yeah.
didn't tell anybody at the beginning because I knew that they wouldn't agree with me and that I had to really be strong. And I think, everybody gains their strength in different ways.
Mhm.
And this is the way I did it. But, I felt determined. And, you know, when you make up your mind, you don't have to justify it to anybody. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
We never have to justify our choices to anybody. They're our
I
choice.
think we justify it to ourselves, though, through
Yeah.
talking about it with other people.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But,
Yeah.
and I knew it wasn't going to be easy.
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way. I mean, I was
Mhm.
unclogging a toilet, and I never did that before.
Yeah.
Never mowed the lawn before, but I'm doing it. And so
Yeah.
these are the things that, you have to take into account, that
Mhm.
if you are going to leave, if you're going to be on your own, this is what you have to do. Um,
Mhm.
and you just have to be ready. You just have to think
Yeah.
long and hard. Yeah.
But I think not only in this situation, but then even when you had lost your job and then you had to transition and find something new. And then one of the questions I wanted to ask you is how you found that balance, for lack of a better word,
Mhm.
between going from a brick and mortar to virtual, because that's also a very big pivot in your livelihood, in your
Yeah.
income, and being able to think on your feet. So, how was that transition? And do you have any tips for people who are thinking of going from brick and mortar to virtual or vice versa?
Yeah, so that was huge.
Mhm.
I'm not technically inclined. I mean, I had to do a lot of learning, and
Yeah.
it is discouraging because, as you could do one thing with YouTube one day, and then they change the rules, they change the platform,
Yeah.
they change whatever. So
Yeah.
it's a constant learning.
Yeah.
But when you have this passion in you, and you'll do whatever it takes. And so there were a lot of times when I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just going to quit this balanced path and I'm going to go find myself a job,
Yeah.
because at least then I'll get, a steady income. At the beginning, and I'm still doing it, I'm teaching part time.
Mhm.
So, I do have that sort of steady income.
Yeah.
And whatever else balanced path brings me, it's, extra.
Mhm.
But that is the hardest thing,
Mhm.
is really persevering, learning
Yeah.
learning all the technology, not comparing yourself to others,
Yeah.
because that was a biggie for me. I had just started, and I was looking at people with, on Instagram with, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers and people commenting all the time on their posts. And here I am posting and nobody's even looking. Um,
Mhm.
but, that just takes time. And
Mhm.
I've taken so many training programs, marketing programs, YouTube programs, and then you're always learning and you're picking things up. And
Mhm.
that's the beast of this thing. Like
Yeah. That's entrepreneurship for you.
entrepreneurship. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
constantly learning. It's
it is.
constantly. Another thing that, I found really challenging was, I'm Balanced Path and I'm
Mhm,
Rosanna, and
mhm.
we're together. We're one in the same.
Yeah,
And so I was like 24/7. I had Balanced Path
yeah,
on my head. And
yeah.
so you have to learn to say, okay, you know what? My balanced path is from 9 to 5. I'm going to do as
Yes.
many videos, as many webinars or whatever during that time. And then I'm going to chill and do other things that I like. So you have
Yep.
to have that balance. Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's funny because we'll be at the dinner table and my girls will talk about something and I'll give them some advice. And then one of them will say, "Oh, mom, okay, don't balance path me." Right? Don't, and I'm going, but I am Balanced Path.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like whatever I say it's coming from me. It's like this is
Yeah.
who I am.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those are the challenges that you know you, you have to persevere. You just and it's getting out of your comfort zone. I would
Yeah.
never ever have spoken in front of a camera before.
I know
And
the things you do when you have a passion for your business.
yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, it's not about you. It's not about
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
About the audience. What
Yeah.
information am I giving the audience? And
Mhm.
how am I helping? Can I help them? Even if they
Yeah.
take like a smidgen of a little nugget of what I'm saying, and if it can help them, like
Yeah.
that would make me so happy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Like even myself in my entrepreneurial journey, there's so many times I can, I can count that I'm like, oh, I want to leave chiropractic or I want to start something new, do something better, bigger. And I call it the shiny object
Yes,
syndrome,
yes,
right?
yeah,
Because again, you don't have the comfort of a stable paycheck. You don't have
right.
vacation days. You don't have sick days. You don't get the luxuries of benefits. Like you
Mm,
don't get all of that. And
no,
it takes a really certain type of personality to say, okay, no problem. I'll still take my job and my passion of bringing this to the world and
yes,
helping the world
yeah,
over all of the benefits that come along with a regular 9 to 5. But
yeah.
it's hard. It's really hard. And definitely that brain power is needed.
It's really hard, and I remember when I first started in the business. Somebody just said to me, oh no, this was while I was working, and
Hmm.
somebody said to me, just quit your job. And it's like,
Hmm.
how can I quit my job? Like I'm getting X
Yeah.
amount of money and now I'm getting nothing if I do my business.
Yeah.
But I would, if I had to do it over again, I would maybe transition better. So
Yeah.
while I have my job, like I would never ever tell somebody to quit their job.
Yeah.
I
No,
would
me
say
neither.
start your business on the side. And
Yeah.
this on world thing, like why would anybody want brick and mortar? I don't know,
I
unless
know.
it's, a physical thing like chiropractic or
Yeah.
something else like massage
Yeah.
therapy, right?
Yeah.
But like there's so much that you can do
I
online.
know.
And
I
so
know.
why not? It's amazing. And so
Yeah.
I would say, if you have a full-time job, if you have a passion that you're thinking of an online business, transition slowly. Like don't quit your job.
Yeah.
Do it on the side of your desk or, in your spare time. And
Mhm.
then when you're, really successful and again, what success, right? Success
Yeah.
is personal. So
Yeah.
when you feel that it's successful, then you can quit your job or take a leave or something.
Yeah.
But that's why, yeah, I in 2020 when I didn't have a job and I was just starting the business, I did reach out to my contacts in other colleges and I began teaching part-time. I was
Mhm.
going in face to face and then when
Mhm.
COVID happened, everything went online. And you know what? It's
Yeah.
been online ever since and it works.
Yeah. Yep.
Works. So, you know,
Yeah. There's
be
actually a book that sorry to interrupt you. There's a book that I read. It's from this influencer that I follow. Her name is Natasha Oakley. She owns a swimsuit business with one of her best friends. And basically this book is about her journey into creating what they now have, which is Monday Swimwear. And it's
Mhm.
so inspirational to read because even they weren't able to, like, they celebrated getting a fridge in their small however many 100 square foot apartment, and it
Mhm.
took them 10 years plus to get to where they are today. And no one sees that. Again, I would say that the glory of social media really portrays it as like you can do it and it will become the best thing ever the next day. But
It's
it's a very, very false illusion of what you're actually getting yourself into. That's why I would never be like, yeah, quit your job.
no,
No, work on it on the side
yeah,
and then see how it can balance and exceed the current job that you're in to then leave it.
that's right.
Right?
I mean, you have to be practical.
Of
You have
course.
to pay your
You need
bills.
to live.
You need to
Yeah.
live. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so, whatever it takes, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, for me, I love teaching part-time. Even if I didn't need the money, I would still teach
Yeah.
part-time if I had contracts.
Mhm.
And it's just enough, that it doesn't take too much time away from my main business,
Mhm.
for Balanced Path. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but you're right. The social media, just glorifies everything,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why, m like, my 100% piece of advice is do not look at anybody else when you're starting a
Yeah.
new business.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, you're gonna follow and stuff, but don't compare yourself to others because they've been at it maybe 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
You're just starting out. It takes time. It really
Yeah. And they're just getting the recognition now after that many
exactly.
years,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking a program with Minopon. He's a tarot reader, and
Mm.
he always says, "Never give up. Like, do not
Mhm.
give up."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
You
he's my
haven't lost until you've given up, right? So even if you're having a bad
exactly.
day, even if you think that everything's going against you and, oh, how can I keep doing this? Just keep showing up, keep
That's
going and making your posts and telling people that you exist. Because at the end of the day, until you call it quits and you pull the plug, it's not over.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And you know what? Another thing is that you don't know what's happening behind the scenes.
of course.
You don't
Yeah. Yeah.
know who you touched. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
on my you like I might have, I don't know how many subscribers I have on my YouTube channel, but guess
Hmm.
what? Not every person who watches subscribes.
Yes.
So my
Yeah.
viewers are a lot more. And,
Hmm.
like, so I am reaching a lot of people. I don't
Hmm.
know it, but and we
It's
don't
happening.
know the effect that we have on others, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so as long as I'm here, I'm gonna continue. I'm not gonna give up.
I love that.
And I'm helping myself too. I'm
Yeah.
so I'm kind of doing it as a selfish thing too, because I'm I want to be that 75-year-old or 80-year-old that can, walk across walk on a trail for miles.
Yeah.
So, I want to be healthy. I want to really enjoy my later years. And
Yeah.
so, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to spread that awareness.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. Well, Rosanna, where can we find you? On Instagram or on YouTube? Where can we find you in the
So
virtual space?
so both, my Instagram handle, I think, is at balancedpath.ca. My
Mhm.
YouTube channel is at Balanced Path, and there are, like, I don't know, I think there's 3 more, The Balanced Path and The Balance, and they all came after me, but it
Yeah,
doesn't matter because we have different things.
of
So,
course.
yeah, but if you Google at Balanced Path, you should find me, or if you Google, like, on YouTube at Balanced Path Rosanna, 2 S's,
Okay.
you'll find me for sure, but, yeah.
Amazing. I'll even put it in the links below in the show links so
Oh,
people
thank
can
you
click
so
and
much.
find it. Yeah, of
Thank you.
course. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It's so nice to chat and catch up and
It was
hear
great.
all about you. And thank you everyone for listening in. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you.